Namaskar, Narayan sir. Good afternoon. Madam Sodhi, good afternoon. Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We would be starting the session in short 5 minutes. Please be patient.
There are some glitches in your audio.
There's some background noise coming.
I think you're moving something next to the...
Yeah, Dr. Howard, good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Venkat sir, could you attend inaugural session? Your audio is on mute. Gupta ji, namaskar.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Hello, Dr. Vad, how are you?
Hi, Manish, how are you?
Very good, very good. Morning, Professor. Anuradha ji, namaste.
नमस्कार सर नमस्कार एक्चुअली आप अपना हेडफोन करेक्ट करे थे दैट टाइम आई सेड यू गुड आफ्टरनून
Acha. So everybody is here.
Yes,
I guess. Simran ji is here, I can see.
yeah.
Venkat Saab is here. Venkat Saab, good afternoon.
Hello. Madam Sodhi is also there. Yeah.
Simran ji.
Hi, Wave.
And who else is there?
Vijay has to come.
And Miss Patke. Miss Patke is in the school. Okay. How do you say that? Asabari, right?
Yes, sir. Asawari. Yes, sir.
She's the anchor for today's session. She is faculty at School of Liberal Arts. She's assistant professor.
Hello, sir. My pleasure to meet you.
Hi.
You too.
So all of us, I'm sure, are thinking that this would have been way better if we were meeting in person. But nonetheless, really looking forward to the session.
Thank you.
So usually the venue for our NCMJ, National Conference on Media and Journalism, it is MIT World largest Peace Dome. It is at our MIT Loni campus, Pune. So that is a place where usually we have our NCMJ. So since this is online platform, we are missing that dome.
Yeah.
And always.
Dr. Swailashri Haridas is also there on the panel. She's Dean for School of Government.
Okay.
Lovely to meet.
We all stalwarts in the field actually. Really looking for a great session. Thank you, Dr. Prakash, for come on board.
Yeah, and this session is from Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia. So our associate got this in CMJ. So we are really looking forward to this great session very keenly. We'll start sharp on time. 1:30 will start. We have 1 more minute to go.
Okay, so let me grab my coffee and come.
I think
can you please check?
arrived.
There's some background noise. Can you just check? Dr. Chitnis, is sir there? I don't find him on video.
Ma'am, I think Knight sir has joined just.
Okay.
Yeah, just in a minute. With everybody's permission, I think we are good to go.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Ma'am. Yeah, I think all the panelists have joined now, and I see students have also joined in. Should we begin, ma'am?
Yes, yes, Avli.
Great. Yeah. All right. So, welcome back, everybody, on day 2 in session 4. A very good afternoon to one and all present over here. My name is Asabri Falke, and it is an absolute honor to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of MIT Workplace University, Pune, to the second National Conference on Media and Journalism. We would also like to we are also extremely pleased to announce our association with the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia, New Delhi, and Delhi Journalists Association. A hearty welcome to all the esteemed members from academia, industry, society, all the deans, directors, principals, HODs of various colleges and schools from across India who are right now with us attending this session, and also those of you who are watching this live. National Conference on Media and Journalism, along with your faculty members and students. We also welcome faculty, staff, and students and other participants from our very own university, MIT World Peace University, Pune. The esteemed panel for this session consists of dignitaries, and we have with us Shri S. Venkat Narayan, who is the president of Foreign Correspondent Club of South Asia, Delhi, who is going to be moderating this very interesting theme and very interesting session. Along with that, we have galaxy of speakers, I must say. We have 4 dignitaries with us, beginning with Sri Manish Gupta, who is the chairman of PIO Private Limited and also chairman PIO Services Private Limited and president of Media Mantra. Then we have Ms. Simran Sodhi ma'am, who is a columnist and is based out of Delhi. Then we have Dr. Wail Awad. I hope, sir, I have pronounced your name correctly. Pardon me if that is incorrect. Who is a senior journalist, again based out of Delhi. And we also have Sri Vijay Knight, who is the consulting editor, Sakal Media Group. So the topic for this session, the theme is Emergence of India as a Global Power and International Perspective. I also welcome Dr. Shailashri Haridas ma'am, and I also welcome Dr. Anuradha Parasar ma'am. So this was a quick introduction. Now I would like to take a few more minutes and introduce our esteemed guests in a bit more detailed manner. I begin with S. Venkatnarayan. He's a noted Indian journalist, South Asia Bureau Chief of Australia's Network 7 TV channel, and he's the president of Foreign Correspondents Club. He served as FCC's South Asia first Indian president for 3 successive years between 2000 and 2002. He started his career as a reporter with the Times of India in 1968 and later held the positions of executive editor and senior editor of India Today magazine. Welcome to you, sir. I now would like to introduce you to Mr. Manish Gupta, our speaker for this session. He is a veteran print and electronic journalist. He co-founded India's premier multimedia news agency called ANI, Asian News International. He is also a media entrepreneur, founded news, sports, business and entertainment-related enterprise in India and US. He is a media strategist and has planned entry of Western media in India, which includes ABC, CAP Cities, ESPN, Sony Entertainment, Turner International, Viacom, MTV, DIC, Archie's Comic, Marvel Entertainment Productions. Now, I would like to introduce you to another speaker for the session, Ms. Simran Sodhi. Simran Sodhi ma'am is an excellent journalist and media professional who has worked with Mail Today, The Statesman, Indian Express, Al Arabiya English. She's also a terrific author and has penned the book Piercing the Heart, Untold Stories of 2611. And I would like to add this. She's also a professional Odissi dancer. Welcome to you, ma'am. Our next speaker for this session, Dr. Vail Awad. He is a South Asia-based journalist, and he's in the field since 1979 and has traveled extensively in most of South and Southeast Asian countries. He worked as a bureau chief of MBC, that is the Middle East Broadcasting Center, London, MBC FM Radio, Kuwait, Oman, and Damascus Radio, and prior to that, run a special program, Dateline South Asia in Arabic, which is first of its kind with Asian News International. South Asia Bureau Chief of Al Arabiya TV. Many of his writings are published in English and in Arabic in major newspapers and magazines. He served as the president of Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia for 2 terms, 2003 to 2005 and 2013 to 2015. And also as the President Emeritus for FCC South Asia. He's also the recipient of 5th Rajiv Gandhi Excellence Award 2014 for the Best Journalism from Overseas and Freedom of Speech Award. And finally, we have with us one more speaker for this session. Yeah, welcome to you, sir, Shri Vijay Knight, who is a noted journalist, author, political commentator, and an analyst in the country. He's also a convener at the Indian Association of Foreign Affairs Correspondents. Also, he's the consulting editor of Sakal Media Group, and he's one of the 11 members of the Media Advisory Committee that is constituted in Rajya Sabha, and he represented Sakal Group over there. It is my pleasure and honor to have gotten an opportunity to introduce these dignitaries. The theme of the session is going to be Emergence of India as a Global Power and International Perspective. Once again, we extend a very warm welcome to all the esteemed panelists on behalf of Honorable Founder President, Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karaj, Honorable Executive President, Shri Rahul V. Karaj, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. N.T. Rao, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor R.M. Chitnis, Honorable Dean, Professor Anuradha Purasar, and faculty, staff, students, and others at MIT World Peace University, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Fine Arts, Media, and Journalism. As per our tradition, now I would like to request to our technical team to kindly relay the ringing of the bell of democracy before we get started with the session. Unfortunately, we are not in a peace zone, so here are visual glimpse from last year's NCMJ. Thank you so much. Yeah. So those were the visuals, just a visual treat from last year's NCMJ. Now in this new normal, something that we have sort of integrated in our SOP, I would like to request all the panel members to please come on video. Kindly turn on the video, all the esteemed panel members, and we would be taking a digital photograph, and so that it stays with us as a small memento of the session. I request the technical team put that nice, beautiful smile on your face. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, done. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now, again, requesting the technical team to kindly relay the curtain raiser clip. I take this opportunity. Yeah, the mic seems to be fine. Yeah, I take this opportunity to invite Dr. Shaileshri Haridas, who is Associate Director at MIT School of Government, Director, MIT's Civil Services Institute, and also Dean for Faculty of Commerce, Faculty of Economics, and Faculty of Law, for setting the tone of this discussion. Yeah, over to you, Haridas ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me here. Namaskar to all panel members. I'm so fortunate to listen to all of you today. We have always read what you have written in, as a columns or in the newspapers or in the business press. But I'm so happy that I'll be, hearing everything from the horse's mouth today. I'm sure this will be a feast for, all of us. Thanks, Dr. Parashar and the team for taking and, connecting all such great people to MIT World Peace University. Uh, just to talk about the subject, India as the emerging power as such. Let me be allow me to be a bit candid here. Of course, the dream started in 1991. I always say that when we thought of LPG liberalization, privatization, the globalization, but we took a lot of time from 1991 till 2020 to think about we can be one of the global power and all. Started with Manmohan Singh ji and PV Narasimha Rao, nurtured further by Vajpayee, and then UPA 1, UPA 2. So a lot of things has gone in shaping India. What India is today is because of all those people. It's not only because of the present policies. I still remember in 2005, United Nations called us as emerging economy of the world, and that's how the word this emerging it came into the picture. And from that 2005 onwards, we all have started saying that India is one of the emerging economy of the world, and we still don't know when are we going to emerge. 15 years we are talking only about emerging economy of the world. We still doesn't know when are we going to emerge. So that is a $1 million question for all of us. So in order India to be a global power, we need to work with the domestic variables as well as the international variables. By domestic variables, I mean, the government policies, the implementation of the government policies in terms of facilitating more towards the consumption or the investment, or the government expenditure in the needy sectors, the export promotion strategies. So the fundamentals of the economy, that's what in the common man's language, that has to be strengthened. Whatever may be the government we talk about, each government has come up with great strategies to strengthen the economy. But whether the economy has been strengthened or not is $1 million question, which you all, people from media, I request each one of you to throw light on this. So talking about the international variables, where of course there are a lot of things like you talk about the political aspects, we talk about the economic aspects, we talk about the technological aspects, which is much more important given the condition now, or even the social or cultural aspects, the legal aspects. There are a lot of things to speak about as such. Even though we feel that the political aspects are much more stronger now, but still having the good government in the central government side. And if the government is losing its power in all the state governments, the investors will always think they will have the wait and watch policy, because the state and the center relationship is something which really makes much more difference as such. If we are talking about the technological as aspects, again, I have my own concerns that to what extent we are investing in the technological, in the research and the development and the technology in the innovation. So a lot of things has to be changed. Something I really would like to highlight here is about the defense related issues. To what extent we can be a superpower, how much we invest in our defense, to what extent we can be the superpower, and how best we can combine all these things, environmental issues, the political issues, the economic issues, the technological issues, something like that. So I have a lot of questions at the back of my mind, and I'm looking for the answers from each one of the panel experts here. We are moving well from agriculture to the services, but is this a sustainable one? If this can be sustainable, then can India be the superpower based on the current aspects today? So if it is going to become the superpower, again maybe a resolution, if we can pass today, that ये कब तक हो सकता है, like can we see this in 2030 or 2040 or 2075? We don't know whether I'll be alive to see that world or not, but we wish that future of Mother India should be bright and great. That's what is my opening remark here, but I'm looking for great answers from all the panel experts. Thanks a lot. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we could find no other most appropriate person than you for setting the context for this very particular theme. All right. So with that, now without much further ado, I'd like to request Sri Venkat Narayan sir to please take it over and kindly moderate the session. Over to you, sir.
Sir, may I request you to? Yeah.
Yeah. At the very outset, I would like to thank Professor Anuradha Rasar and the university administration for inviting the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia to associate itself with this second annual event involving the media. And I want to congratulate them. What a nice idea it is to make the media a major issue for discussion. And congratulations to everybody. And I want to thank all my colleagues who have readily agreed to participate in this very interesting discussion. Now, we are talking about the emergence of India as a major power. We have been talking about it for quite some time. As we all know, India has always been a major power until the British came and took away $35 trillion worth of our wealth and reducing India to a poor country. Till the Mughal rule of India, India accounted for 25% of global GDP. We are not even 1 or 2% at this moment. And yes, there has been a tremendous development since the British left India in 1947. But the fact remains that every third person in India is still illiterate, is not able to read and write. And since Narasimha Rao introduced economic reforms under the finance ministership of Dr. Manmohan Singh, India has been able to lift to more than 27 crores of people above the poverty line. That's a very impressive number, absolutely. But compared to China, which has done something like what? Every second person in that country has been lifted from poverty line. So we still have a lot of catching up with to do. And I will be happy to see if India is able to achieve 100% literacy. Right now, every third woman in this country is illiterate. Every fourth man in this country is illiterate. And we have not been able to channelize youth power. More than 60% of India's population is below 30. But the fact remains that there is a lot of unemployment. There's no question that we have achieved a lot of progress in science, technology, space. We are now planning Gaganyaan and Chandrayaan and so many things. We have so much to be proud of, but we have not gotten where we should be in terms of, because of the fact that every fifth human being on the planet is an Indian. If somebody wins a bronze medal or a silver medal, the whole country gets very excited. I would like to see at least 15, 20, 30 Olympic gold medals. I would like to see at least half a dozen, if not 10 Indians winning the Nobel Prizes every year. And I would like to see our universities figuring in the 100 best universities of the world. That is not happening yet, but if we all work together like one entity, I'm sure we will get there. And I would like to see that the government of India makes efforts to ensure that every Indian becomes literate in the next 5 or 10 years. Only then we will be able to put all our strength together and take the country forward. I would like to see India as a $10 trillion economy, at least by the year 2030. Then the world will take India as a major power. And we do not have to go to the United Nations and ask for a permanent seat year after year, year after year. But if we become a $10 trillion economy, and if our country boasts of all men and women being literate, if we remove disease and poverty from our country, then we will occupy a seat at the top table in the world. So these are my observations to begin with, and I'll give it back to Ashasri to take it, our Professor Anuradha Parasar, who is going to be kind of conducting this. I have no idea. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Sir, as a moderator of the session, we request you to moderate, and the time allocation is total 50 minutes, of which I think 8 minutes has been used.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. I'll confine my opening remarks to this, and now I would like to invite Munish Gupta to make his remarks. Munish.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all our friends at MIT University. And like Venkat said, it's such a pleasure to find a university focused on media and focusing the subject of India's rise as a global power linked with media. I would start by, reflecting upon a little bit my own story. In 1985, I started with the Times of India. 86, I quit very quickly and started a news agency, a private entrepreneurship with my friend Sanjeev Prakash. That took me to America in 1987, very early on. And I realized that India was not a power. India was nothing to be reckoned with. Rather, even as a journalist who went there on a journalist visa, I tell the story to a lot of my friends. I was told, you don't need an ID to come because we don't talk about India every day. So come when we call you. And I fought with that. And down in the next 5 years, I interviewed almost 400 congressmen and senators of the US House of Representatives and the Senate, and told them that, look, maybe you don't know the history of India, maybe you don't, as Venkatji was reflecting upon India being a power till the British stole those $35 trillion from our economy. I said, maybe you don't know the history, maybe you don't understand India, but one of these days, and give it 20, 30 years, and those were ominous words coming out of my mouth every day I met people. I said, 20, 30 years from now, you would be sitting across the table from India and calling it your partner. And today, when the United States says India is a strategic partner, is more than a strategic partner. Now they look forward to India playing a role in the Indo-Pacific. They look forward to India emerging as a giant economy in Asia. They look to India to counter China's new hegemony in this new world order that China is trying to create. I think a lot has to be said about that. I would pick up from some of the comments made earlier by the dean, and when she said that, look, a lot needs to be done, and I think Venkat has also reflected on the fact that India needs to achieve a lot, and I agree that we do need to achieve a lot. But I am an optimist, you know, growing up in the 80s and doing pretty much the better part of my professional life in America in the mid 80s to now. I have seen that India endured a very beautiful journey of 30 years to rise from literally what was considered a no country to be reckoned with in terms of global power and stature, to traversing a beautiful journey based on indigenous emphasis on science, technology, innovation, knowledge, education, because nobody was willing to share anything with us, no America, Russia. They would sell things to us. So we banked on our own knowledge, and we banked on our own indigenous power to do R&D and science and technology to come where we are today. And if India has been able to make a dent, whether it's in the green revolution, white revolution, industrial revolution, IT revolution, the service revolution, it has all come out of India from within India. Of course, today in the world, it's globalized. You know, with globalization setting in the world, we have to cooperate, collaborate, do a lot of joint things. We buy from here and there, and we better the technology, whether it's in agriculture or it's in IT or ICT. But India has today made a mark as a major power in the world. And I am very proud to be an Indian and standing up in the world as I travel across the world. I travel a lot. I travel for almost 6 months every year. And I've been doing that for 30 years. And I can tell you it's a big difference. I used to go to airports, it didn't matter which, people would generally say, oh, India, particularly in the Western world. And now they welcome you. They look at you in almost in awe of you saying, oh, India has achieved a lot. But two things I would like to note in my opening comments is, internet created a paradigm shift. When internet came, the digitization, the digital world began, it created a paradigm shift. And it has given us everything that we think of and do and can achieve today. I mean, imagine in COVID-19, if we didn't have the internet, I think crores and crores of people would have died in India and across the world. Similarly, India stands on the precipice today of using this knowledge and knowledge power that we have of IT, ICT, to channelize it in the right direction across sectors. And if we can combine this digital power with energy from with renewable energy, which again India can do, and India has demonstrated through what has been set up plants in Gujarat and all. I think India can scale very big new heights. And lastly, I would say the best thing that India could have done, and I agree with Madam when she spoke earlier about economic reform started in 1991 with P.V. Narasimha Rao. The other day, only Mr. Venkat Narayan and we were talking to a common friend about the big contribution of Mr. Narasimha Rao as Prime Minister, bringing in Manmohan Singh. But I can assure you, while we have all seen 1991 and every successive governments after that, some of them regressive, they took back the steps that were being taken forward. Yet, in the last 5 or 6 years, India has played one stellar role as a development partner to developing countries across the world, which is the only way we as a world, and what is enshrined in the United Nations but not followed by countries, of moving towards sustainable development. Sustainable growth and development is something that the world needs. I don't care how big an economy, how big a country we become, but America and many other countries exist today in the world which are very big and very beautiful, but they could not do anything to stop the misery of half the world, which suffers with poverty and without food and in hunger, etc., etc. I think India has done very well as the rising power to also become a development partner to those that need, and this is the role that should be continued to be played and led by India. Thank you very much.
May I now, thank you, Manish. May I now invite Dr. Wael Awad, who is was born in Syria. He spent the best part of his life as a professional in India. He first came to India to learn English and to become a doctor, but he chose to be a journalist. Dr. Awad. You have to unmute yourself.
I go to, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. You hear me now? Yes. Thank you, Professor Anuradha Parasar, and thank you, MIT, for this invitation. In fact, I had the opportunity yesterday of listening to the first session, and I was very happy to see the process and the distinguished guests you have already had in your list of invitees. I am happy to be part of this process and this session, not only because I live in India, but because I'm a proud non-Indian who is seeing India growing throughout these 4 decades of living in this South Asia. Having said that, I would say that there are always, we always use the term superpowers, and we use it as a terminology after the post-World War II, where there was the world was bipolar that time, where we had the Soviet Union and the United States. And then we had in the 90s, where when the USSR have dismantled, we have seen that there was only a superpower, which is the United States. So in reference to the hierarchy of the international system and the power transitional juries, I think there is a major regional shift of the power and the multipolar worlds, with India and China emerging in Asia. So I would call it the Asian centuries, where I can see the only power that can challenge the American supremacy of these pyramids of powers, where we can see the superpower, then we see the great powers and the middle powers, and then the small powers. But India is, as I call it in my own terms, India risen soft power. So India risen soft power is very much on the Asian century. And the challenge to the United States, maybe it is China at the moment, but definitely after China comes India. But having said that, at India as such, also there are parameters for superpowers to stay for long and sustain that position. And I think India enjoys the parameters of the superpower, which can comes in from the terms we say is the economy, and we can see also from the political, the geopolitics positioning, the geography, the population, economy, resources, military, diplomacy, and these are the parameters which make a superpower. And I think India have all the criteria to be fit on that. Population-wise, definitely India have the 5th largest population, as President Venkat was saying, and Manish. And then also we could see that India is also integrating into the global economic system, where we have it. Maybe there are lots of challenges to Indian economy at the current with the post-COVID-19 era, we would call it. But definitely there are also positive, criteria in the economist rates in India, where we can say that India have emerging, and there are the sector, the investment sector is very strong in India and is very healthy as well. So, and there are also elements of the India power in the manufacturing sector may not be very strong at this stage, but there are lots of promising sign of India sustaining this manufacturing era, with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi coming with the policy of the opening of the economy. We may see there is a major shift into India and making India a priority, as the United States is doing America first, India first is also emerging. So I think if I wanted to see India from those angles, I will say yes, there are healthy signs of the India as an economic superpower. Because what is a superpower? Is it dominant in the military and dominance in the economy? So if India emerging economy is looking very healthy, fair enough, we can see that India in many sectors, that is already we are going to see it, growing very fast. And the economic rate in India have been growing for the last decades of more than 5.5%, which is also only have fallen this year because of COVID-19. And the World Bank said that the growth won't be more than 1.1% this year. Definitely, India will sustain and emerge back again. In terms of military, India also enjoys a very strong military position in the navy, and the forces, armed forces, in also the what we call the air force and the army and the military. So we have seen Navy Indian growing very steadily, and India is considered to be the third largest, strongest army in the world. In fact, 1.5 million people are in the army. So in terms of power in the army, yes, India enjoy. I wanted to speak a bit about Indian diversity as well, which is also plays a major role as the largest democracy in the world. And also India has gained lots of respect internationally for the last 2 decades. It has been recognized as an emerging power, as a respectable, as a democratic state. And we have seen lots of changes. In fact, we have been witnessing all these changes. I live this part of it in India. And I must mention here that, when India went to nuclear in 1974, I was in school in Syria at that time, and I was taken into, along with all the students of our school, to demonstrate to support India going to nuclear. In fact, we always see India as an emerging power in Asia, is a sign of balancing the unbalanced world, where we have been a victim of colonization by the Western world and the United States interference in our policies. So therefore, India has always been respectable in the international eyes, and I think the multi-diversity and the diversity of India lies in its strength as unified India. And I think India at current stage is more strong than any time of the history, where it is totally unified, and there is no question of breaking India again by any colonization, colonial power. So then let's go into the challenges of India. I agree fully with Venkat ji that yes, we are facing lots of challenges because of illiteracy, because of the poverty, because lots of people are under the poverty line, and there is no equal distribution of wealth in India. But let's say that we have also a huge population, a labor class, and India is a leading in IT technology, and India is also a power to reckon with in the international arena. So I think these are the challenges every country has to face. But how do we see India from now on in terms of relation with neighbors? Because these are the major parameters where India has to also, to be a power in the world, you need not only to be respectable internationally, but also regionally. And also you will be able to accommodate yourself in this hierarchy of powers, in the sense that your neighbors should be in good, coherence with the neighbors, till you are able to merge as a power, and should be all these obstacles should be removed, that you will be able to keep your status in the international world system as a new power, and you may feel like to be part of the reshaping and restructuring of the international new world order. So I think all these obstacles can be removed. Social evils are there in India. Definitely, I think if we retain the jurisdiction system strong, the media strong in India, and the governance, which is very important, that I think these factors and the pillars, as Ibn Khaldun have said in his introductory, that if these are retained intact, there is no problem for India to emerge as a power. And we are happy in the Arab world to see India position is very strong. India have kept an equidistance with all the countries in any disputes, but they have a great respect. And we would see a proactive role of India even in our affairs, because India energy security, Indian expats living in the Arab world have also given India an extra mileage by providing the revenues of more than $55 billion annually. And you have more than 8 million Indians staying in the Gulf, including 14 million annually visit the Gulf. So there is a huge potential for India to remain and retain as a power in this world. And we welcome India in the next future. And I will be happy to take any question and answer session in this. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Wail Awad, for your very interesting interpretation. As a foreigner who has been living in India for the last 40 years, I'm sure all our listeners have enjoyed listening to you. May I now invite Simran Sodhi, a distinguished journalist from Delhi, author. She's worked for several newspapers. She has a degree in international relations from an American university. Now she's a columnist for the Khaleej Times of Dubai. Simran.
Venkat, thanks. I think a lot of important points have already been raised by Venkat and by Manish and Dr. Awad. And especially Venkat's point about India having this huge problem that we have a big population and we also have this dual challenge of illiteracy and poverty. So when we talk of India's emergence as a global power, we are also somewhere struggling with the low literacy rates and with the huge population which is still below the poverty line. But I think balancing out the positive and the negative, I think if we look at the positive of what India has achieved in the international arena in the last 10 years, 5 years especially, we see that India has emerged with a voice of its own. And this is a point Dr. Awad had raised, that India's relations, as you look with the Western world, with the major countries of the world today, we see are on an upward trajectory. For example, India's relations we have seen with the United States, for example, in the last few years have really progressed. We are a major defense partner with them today. So we have moved away from the traditional relationships like Russia and are forging new relationships. But I think the beauty of the Indian diplomacy and the beauty of India's efforts has been that while we have developed new relations with the US, our old relations with countries like Russia have still remained very intact and they still remain very positive and on a high trajectory. So I think as India emerges as a global power, I think one of the biggest takeaways for any student of international diplomacy would be the fact that India has balanced things very well. So while there is a building of relationships with the US, our relations with our traditional allies like Russia has not suffered at all. We also see that in the neighborhood today, India enjoys an excellent relationship with almost all its neighbors, apart from Pakistan, and that is a different case in itself, that is a different study in itself. If you look at Europe, Latin America, we see a positive relationship which India is having. But I also feel that India has to step up a little more, as Venkat had pointed out, the fact that our seat at the United Nations Security Council, that is something that India deserves. The world has changed since 45. The UN Security Council came into being in 1945, represented a different world order. India today is a major voice in the world, despite the fact that we have a lot of issues back home which we have to resolve, majorly being poverty and illiteracy. India still deserves a seat at the high table. So I think what I would credit, and I think anyone who follows how India is emerging as a global power, I think the fact that India is maintaining very good ties with almost every nation in the world, and even in countries where we have conflicts like we have a difference of opinion, I think India is still doing the balancing act very well. So for me, I think this is the biggest positive, while we still have a lot of negatives which we have to balance out. Thank you.
Thank you, Simran, for your interesting presentation. May I now invite Vijay Knight, a good friend of ours. He's been a regular on the Delhi media circuit for what, 40, 50 years, I guess, and he's written several books in Marathi, his mother tongue, and he's publishing newspaper in Maharashtra, Sakal Group, and he has a lot of interesting comments to make. May I now invite Vijay to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat. Hi, Dr. V.L. Awad, my friends. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Knight, we can hear you, but we can't see you on video.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, let me first thank Dr. Vishwanath Karad, founder president of the MIT, and its management for organizing this seminar on a very interesting topic. I also thank you, Mr. Haridas and Parashar, and my friend, Mr. Venkat Narayan, whom we keep meeting all the time, Dr. Awad and other friends also, Manish. Friends, what I feel is that the world today is looking at India with great expectations as it confronts China on the Ladakh front. Every day we are talking of the Ladakh front now. And India is working at the same time to power. Simultaneously, challenges on economic, political, and external front. I remember during Nehru and Indira Gandhi era, when we covered many of the international conferences, India was the foremost leader of the non-aligned movement, prominent member of the Commonwealth, also of the G77. So these organizations have lost all their gloss in the recent times. India caught attention of the world when it achieved 8% GDP, as Venkat was also saying, during the time when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. When Mr. Modi took over in 2014, we saw that within 1 year, the rate of growth was also 7.5%. So therefore, it came down to some extent, but still India was ahead. However, I think that India will have to overcome many challenges before we can be considered as a global power. It is not yet influential on the international stage as compared to US, China, or Russia. But from the international perspective, as the largest democracy with a population of more than 1.3 billion, India is poised to become a balancing power in Asia as democracies like Japan, South Korea, Australia, Vietnam, and Indonesia come together for strategic cooperation to stop hegemonistic designs of China. The global community has been waiting for India to take the bigger role in Asia and beyond. The qualitative shift, as all our friends are talking, that happened actually in 2005 when India entered into a civil nuclear agreement with the United States of America. Now, however, the deal actually which was there was opposed by the people, were opposed by the parties in the country, and even then also the deal survived, but the government did not collapse at that time. However, since that time, actually, I feel that the country has surged ahead. And today we have the best relations with the United States. We have 40 mechanisms with the United States of America, which are working. And we have 2+2 dialogue with the US, as well as we have the same kind of dialogue with Japan now. Well, we have come far ahead, actually far ahead, from the days of 1970s, actually. If you look at the decade of 1970, Europe, USA, and Japan, all these three countries, as well as one European continent, looked towards India with skepticism. It's because in 1971, when India and Pakistan war took place, it was the same United States which sent the 7th Fleet into Bay of Bengal to stop India. But they did not deter Indira Gandhi, and we achieved our goal. So what I feel is that the sanctions were imposed after that by United States in 1974 when India went into nuclear experiment, as well as in 1998 there was another one which we had a nuclear test. Americans and Japanese, all these countries imposed many sanctions on India, but even then India survived and it surged ahead. So I think that today, when we look at our progress, India has become a major voice in Southern Hemisphere. Well, the credit has to go to Mr. Narasimha Rao. As other friends also said, in 1991, when he started the era of liberalization, that was the time when we saw that India surged ahead economically under the leadership of Narasimha Rao and also Dr. Manmohan Singh. Well, if you look at today's United States, you would see that the Silicon Valley, most of the Indian entrepreneurs, are there, and Silicon Valley has become famous only because of the Indian entrepreneurs who have been settled there. They have started their startups. They have become very big, and Indians are now playing a very, very vital role, not only the politics of United States, whether it is Republican Party or the Democratic Party. You have the people who are influencing the politics of the United States. So therefore, I think that Indians have achieved many, many things. Well, I remember one time when Mr. Clinton came to Delhi, we had a dinner with Mr. Clinton here, and we asked him that what do you think about the Indian diaspora in the United States? So he said the first generation which came to India, which came to United, was looking for the jobs and looking for their own families and all that. But the third generation today in United States is very, very powerful, and they are moving to some extent the politics of United States, and therefore you can see that Mr. Donald Trump today also depends on the Indian vote, which is going to be very crucial in the November election. Well, another thing which I want to say is that in 2014, when Modi came to power, he started a totally different kind of a diplomacy. It was an innovative kind of diplomacy when he invited 8 members or 7 members of the SAARC countries, where everybody came to Delhi, and it started the neighborhood policy. Now, neighborhood policy, as Simran was saying, is successful to a great extent. But still, what I feel is that our neighborhood policy is changing from the leadership to leadership. When you see that Bangladesh today, relations with Pakistan will never be okay, but relations with Sri Lanka, they changed. Gotabaya Rajapaksa came to power. Before that, the Chinese influence in our neighborhood was much. Then we had Mr. Abdullah Yamin in Maldives. After Abdullah Yamin resigned and then the new government came, our relations with that country. But I think India will have to put the neighborhood policy first. In Nepal also today, we are not very, very good relations with Nepal. We will have to do a lot of efforts to improve relations with Nepal. Now look at policy also, which is very, very important from the point of India, started with Narasimha Rao, and then Modi said it is a that is an activist policy. The activist policy is also helping India to improve its image in the Eastern Hemisphere and Southeast Asia. I think that India, if one can say that in 2017, we became leader of the Solar Alliances. And we initiated this particular alliance, wherein 121 countries are now members, and India is a leader in the driving seat. Now, having said that, let me come to another region, as our friends also said, that is the presence of India into the Indo-Pacific region. It was for the first time that Modi invited 14 island nations leaders of Pacific for a first summit in Suva, Fiji in 2014. This was followed by the second summit of the Forum for India-Pacific Island Cooperation in 2015 in Jaipur. Thus, it is getting a major Today we see that it is going to be a Quad with Australia joining in the exercises. So India is poised to play a pivotal role in Indo-Pacific. Quad nations are likely to meet next month in November. If you look at Africa, you can see that India has taken a quantum leap in recent years in its image, doing a lot of things in the capacity building in Africa, and we are being looked as the most reliable partner in progress. India-Africa Forum Summit, held in Delhi in October 2015 in India. India recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Tunisia on the creation of a Tunisian Center for Innovation and Information and Communication Technologies in the North African countries. If you look at that, now what we see is that due to COVID-19, the things are coming to a halt in a big way. When we talk of India becoming the 5 trillion economy by 2024, today we are economy of 2.7 trillion, while China is about 14 trillion, and that of United States is 21 trillion. So what we said earlier, that by 2030, he wants to see India 10 trillion economy. I think we will have to do, the Indian have to do an all-round progress basically on economic and defense, which China has achieved in a big way. Though we have got, we are the members of BRICS, we are the members of EFSA, and many other forums, including ASEAN. I think the Indians are being looked after by the Southeast Asian countries, basically, that India should lead and not China. Therefore, I think the Indian diplomacy has worked very hard in the region of Southeast Asia. Well, everyone knows that when Modi was looking at the Act East policy, he also looked at Act West policy and developed his relations of India with Gulf countries, with Saudi Arabia, and also Iran. With Iran, we have got the project Chabar project, and we are, I think, doing great things in Iran, in spite of the fact that America is opposing, Donald Trump is opposing Iran in a big way. So another thing which I think our friends talked about is a high table at the UNSC. Now, UNSC, there is support to India to become permanent member of the United Nations, UNSC. Americans, British, Japanese, and Russia, all are supporting India except China. But
I think we lost Naik sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you may, Asawari, in the meantime, when sir joins, you may take the session forward. Yeah. I think sir is
Yeah.
Yes. It seems he's well.
Vijay, we can't hear you. Have you finished? Asawari, are you able to hear Vijay? No, no?
No, sir. I think all of us have lost it. Are you there, Vijay sir? Can you please check with your mic once, just in case if it was muted? No, I think it's the connectivity.
There is a problem. Hello. Please go ahead.
Issue. Okay, let's get on with it. Have we received any questions, or should we raise our own issues and discuss it among the participants?
Yeah, I think so. We could do it in that way. If the panelists would like to, comment on each other's views, that would be great.
Yeah, okay, fine. Well, I
think one
want
of them is
make
government retired government service. One of them happened.
need to make up with China and Pakistan to achieve the status of a global power. Right now, we have a problem on the border with China in Ladakh, and there is tension between India and Pakistan. As a Syrian living in India, Dr. Awad, what do you think India should be doing to make up with China and Pakistan so that all the countries in the region could work together and convert the 21st century into a truly Asian century? Dr. Awad.
So could you please unmute yourself?
Unmute.
Yeah, yeah, that's better now. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Venkat. I think I was saying that the Asian century have already shifted to the power into India and China, and there is no only China superpower that can compete with the United States. Therefore, I always say that both country can lead the world and make a changes in a multipolar world where the BRICS in particularly have been doing a great job in making it a multipolar world. So India, to a large extent, have taken a very diplomatic and actions and have already taken a very firm stand to ensure that the Indian integrity and there is no compromise on any territorial, loss to the Chinese. And I think, as Jaswant Singh told me once, that we need to live with our neighbors. You can't choose your neighbor. So there is only one way out of such kind of a crisis is to really find a compromise position, a win-win situation for all, and really dialogue is the only way out. Because Venkat, there is always now the dimension of a nuclear dimension to the world. So there is no questions of any war breaking up in the near future. So maybe we may see proxy wars somewhere in the world where the superpowers will take advantage. They have been doing in West Asia. They're going to shift it into Iran and the United States, maybe with their partners. And could be in the future, could be some kind of a skirmish. But between the nuclear states, it's very unlikely to be. So therefore, what India needs is to strengthen its set its house in order, strengthen internally, and be affirmative in opposition diplomatically, militarily, and on the international platform. I think India enjoy lots of respect because the COVID-19 have also exposed China in many ways. And Pakistan has been always, we know that Pakistan in a very bad situation are unable to stand any kind of a pressure, and instability politically, economically is very much on the air. So we need to discuss, you need to talk. That's the only way out. There is no question. And I think China will understand at the end of the day that India is a force to reckon with and should be dealt with on equal footing.
Thank you. Munish, you're born in India. You spent 30 years of your working life in America. Now you commute between India and the US and travel around the world. What is your take on this question? How does India deal with Pakistan and China? If you want to play a major role in global affairs, it's very important that India improves its relations with China and Pakistan. What do you think the policy makers in this country should be doing to achieve that? Munish.
Thank you, Venkat. And I think it's it's very clear, as all speakers have said, and you started that by laying the emphasis that India is a giant today. It is a spiritual, social, technological, economic, market size, population size giant. So whether we like it or not, whether China likes or not, they have to deal with India and with India on an equal footing And China has to understand that they cannot play around with India anymore. China being a communist country and India being a democracy tilts the favor in India's direction, where the rest of the world comes around and supports India on many fronts. And China, in the manner that it's manifest its manufacturing prowess and wanted to control the economies of the world in many ways, people are realizing, and as you see, Australia and other countries are putting an end to China actually buying into companies and creating influence and pressure. So to answer, and then we look at Pakistan, which does not have any policy of any kind whatsoever, whether it's for their own country or for the economy, and all leaders come there in an effort to survive, and there's massive corruption and so all kinds of issues. So unfortunately, as Dr. Awad rightly said, and just one thing said, we can't choose our neighbors, we have to live with them, but our neighbors have also live with us. And it's fortunate for us and unfortunate for them that India has risen. What do? We have to create we have to make sure our borders are secure. We have to make sure technologically we have the power and the prowess, and India is doing that. And I think, to answer your question very frankly, Venkat, we can't go back in time and say, I want my land back. It will not happen. You remember the visit you and I were together in 1988 when Rajiv Gandhi went to China. And at that time, had the Prime Minister then not said to the power be China, Deng Xiaoping and others, that look, we will accept the line of actual control as pretty much the international border, things could have become worse. We haven't had a war or skirmish with China. These things come and go. Now, of course, for the first time because of COVID and whatever pressures on China, or maybe shipping, there's nuisance on the border. I don't think it will go beyond any nuisance. They are not going to throw bombs at each other. We are not going to see planes flying into each other's territory. This will all be sorted out. It will take a little bit of time. And the powers that be are pushing China into that corner with India siding with India. Similarly, on the Pakistan front, Pakistan has to realize that it has to stop playing that game of promoting terrorism, because that is the global agenda now. After 9/11, the world has realized they don't want anybody messing with each other in each other's territories. So if you mess with India and India goes into your territory, well, at least they go into your territory but come back. So I think what could happen, finally and frankly, in good spirit, if we want it, is the borders that are right now must be respected between countries, and we freeze them and we live peacefully and start to work with each other economically and otherwise. We can't stop India's rise. I mean, we have seen from Yoga's day the spiritual, the cultural, the social, and the economic rise of India. And I think the whole world at large is going to support direction, both vis-a-vis Pakistan and China.
So if I can just come in, and if you could allow me,
Please.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So since the discussion is ongoing about the India's emergence, and we also shortly spoke about the immediate neighborhood problems, I was just wondering if panelists could throw light upon this, that India has been for so many years now trying to claim a seat, a permanent seat at UNSC, and we had this coffee club and all these initiatives going on. What do you think that are India's prospects, and what more should be done in terms of building more alliances and gathering and mustering the support for it?
Simran, can you handle that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Venkat. I think in a practical world that we live in today, we have to realize that the P5 that sit at the high table at the UN also includes China. So any reform that ultimately happens at the United Nations, and when we're talking of the expansion of the UNSC, and that's a sensitive matter because anyone who gets to sit at that high table also gets the power of the veto. And that is a power which nation states which already have that are not very willing or keen to share. So we have, in this discussion, as we have discussed, we have great ties today with the US, with Russia, and these are the nations who are supporting India at getting a permanent seat in the UNSC. But we also have China, which would not want to share that with us because of obvious reasons. We are both countries in Asia, we are competing with them, and China does feel this heat from India because economically we have come up, militarily we have come up. So I think in the practical world that we live in, while we push for a seat at the UNSC, which rightfully should be India's, we also have to recognize that there are a lot of challenges. And the biggest challenge that we face every time we go to the UNSC is the presence of China, is the veto power which China holds. And China will try its best to keep India out. Not only India, it wants to keep countries like Japan out, for instance. So I think we have to continuously make that effort, but we also have to be cognizant of the fact that we live in a world which is very practical, which is very harsh, and nobody wants to share that high table with other people. So keeping that in mind, I think we need to push forward.
Just so there are couple of questions in the Q&A panel. If you could just
Please go ahead.
Right. Okay. So there's a question from Sundar Singh Rekhi, and he's asking, is it true that India can put a serious challenge to a joint front of China and Pakistan? That is one I see. Sir, if you could redirect this to one of the panelists.
Yeah. Do you want to handle that?
Sure. I think we've seen the writing on the wall already in the last few months. The challenge has existed rather in the last couple of years on both the China and the Pakistan border front. Rather, both are open right now. And I think India is dealing with it. So the answer is yes.
Thank you. What is the next question? Asawari?
Yes, sir. So just before we close this, I think this would be the last question that we're going to take up. Again, it's a question from Sundar Singh Rekhi, and he's asking, can we consider Israel as India's all-weather friend?
Simran, can you handle that, please?
Yeah, so I think a quick brief answer would be that in international relations, we don't have any all-weather friends. We have relations, we have ties, countries progress. We work on ties all the time. So I think the good part is that today India and Israel share excellent relations. That is also because Israel is manufacturing a lot of things which India needs. India is a rising global power which Israel would need on its side. But at the same time, to label any country in the world as an all-weather friend, I think it's a little naive, because relationships are built and they are built on mutual benefits. And I think that is how the global diplomacy works.
Thank you. Sorry, you want to take it forward?
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Narayan sir. Yes, we have, I think we are good to close with one resolution that we have adopted as a practice in NCMJ. I would request the technical team to please proceed with that. So we are putting forward a resolution as a conclusion to this session, and I would request all the participants and the audiences to please vote in for that. And yeah, so here is it. You can see this in the chat box. And please vote in large number.
Requesting the anchor to please proceed with the question and answer. We will be showing a resolution in 5 minutes.
Sure, sure. Yeah. All right. I think there was one more question. If we could just take that up till the time we have this relayed on the screen.
I want to make a point, just one point, which
yes, sir, please go ahead.
You know, which Venkat and I think Vijay reflected on. You know, a very important aspect of India's rise in the last 3 decades, and particularly in the last decade, is the rise of the Indian diaspora. You know, for whatever reason that Indians left the Indian shores, whether it indentured labor 100, 150, 200 years ago, and especially during colonial era, and then since the 60s after independence for professional reasons to better their lives and careers, we have created today more than 35 million in my estimate and up to 40 million people of Indian origin globally who are very good in knowledge, who now are very affluent and who have a lot of influence. And this is something that the government of India had started to harness, and even India as a country, as people, as business people. But this is something that this Prime Minister has made an agenda of harnessing and creating foundations in the countries around the world. And they together, standing together with India, will go a very far, distance for India, with India, and in the rise of India.
Thank you. Asavari, please go ahead. Ask that question. You had a question, right?
Yes, sir. Sure. So there's one question, I think that was about the border relations. If I can just quickly go back and yeah. So here is it. So Anuja is asking, India is a great country and the only issue I see is external aggression. What can be done about that? And also in continuation of the same thing, she's asking, is border dispute also a major hindrance in India's development? Yeah. You could redirect this question to either Knight sir or Awad sir if they are online. Yeah.
Is Vijayanaike? Vijay, are you around? You're not. Okay. Let me take a foreigner living in India. While, what do you say to that? Unmute.
Yeah, sorry. Did I understand the question? You said OIC?
No, not OIC.
Yeah.
Asavari, you want to repeat the question?
Yeah. Sure. I'll just reframe it very briefly. So the question was about external aggressions on India, and the participant was asking, is the external aggression and the disturbed neighborhoods a major hindrance to India's development?
I think it is one of the major challenges to India to develop. But I think India to remain, there is no shortcut to be a superpower in any format. So India to be a superpower, it has to be economically, militarily, and politically as a strong and superpower to play with. So India has to strengthen its inside to be an upper middle class developed nation. That should be a developed nation. So therefore, I will put the internal challenges to India more than the external challenges. India at this current situation, there is no question of any compromise or any external aggression because all the neighbors, even the regional or international world, understand India potential and strength. Therefore, I think the challenge should be more focused on the poverty, on illiteracy, and bringing up a middle class India to the rise and let them take the lead from here. And I think India space, which we have not mentioned also here, space supremacy is a very important factor to play, especially if we know that there is a next generation of wars going to be a Star Wars or going to be, a space dominance. And as our Munish has been in the United States, we know Trump is very much singing this song. So I think India understands the potential of its strength externally, but internally has to be more strong. So it has to set its home in order.
Thank you, Dr. Awad. I want to say just a couple of things before concluding this. It is that the diaspora is doing very well across the globe, particularly in the United States. The fact that Kamala Harris has been chosen as the vice presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, and I will not be surprised. I mean, I strongly believe that the November 3rd election will produce a very interesting result, and possibly Joe Biden and Kamala Harris might win, and an Indian origin American occupying the White House sooner than later are very bright. So that is also a splendid example of emergence of India as a superpower. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I once again thank all the panelists. And now I'd like to request Mr. Sachin Mohadikar, who's the marketing director at MIT World Peace University, to please come in and propose the concluding remarks.
To the anchor, we are good to go for resolutions.
Okay. Sure, sir. All right. Right. So just check in with the resolution. Yeah, here it is now being displayed. And I appeal to all the participants to kindly support in large numbers. So here's the resolution of this session: Emergence of India as a global power and international perspective. And it goes as: India is one of the fastest growing economies of the world. Thus, the second National Conference on Media and Journalism lays down a foundation for the nation and make other countries and superpowers understand the strength of this nation in a broader way. Wonderful. So we had this put up in Q&A box, the polling panel. The participants can check this feature in a polling panel. And meanwhile, can I please request Sachin sir to come in? Are you online, sir? This is Sachin Mohadekar.
Yes, he is.
Mr. Mohadekar, you are not audible.
Yeah. Meanwhile, also, I'd like to make a quick announcement, one more, that in the chat box, we have forwarded a link that is for a feedback form, and your feedback is most valuable. So please do not, forget to comment and register your feedback in that feedback form. Please use that link and fill up the feedback form. Over to you, Sachin sir, if you're there now. So I think you're not audible. If you could just check the audio settings once. So I think you're still not audible. Just a suggestion. If you happen to have earphones or headphones, maybe you can try that.
He needs to unmute.
Yeah, I think his mic is unmuted, but.
Hello.
You should tell Vijay, both your video, we can't see your video on.
Yeah.
Just in case if you're facing technical glitches, you may just type your message on chat and Asavri can read it out on your behalf.
Yeah,
that works great. Yes. Because I think I'm afraid that I can't see
Sure. Okay, let's move forward then. And when he comes, we can take him. Yeah.
Sure. We'll do that. I think Mohadekar sir, could you please type in the chat box, and we would be able to read it out for all the audiences.
I can see him. I think he's trying to.
Yeah, sir is back there. Yeah, trying to connect.
Yeah, Sachin, come on. Go ahead. Unmute.
I'm so sorry, sir, but yeah, the audio is there are issues still.
Have you unmuted, Sachin?
Because if we talk about China too much, that's what they do, they hack.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Please go ahead. Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much to all the panelists, Mr. Minish Gupta, Mr. Venkat Narayan, Mr. Dr. Awal, Ms. Simran Sori. It was one of the enriching sessions, which we have just heard. So, I have just like few points which I have noted down in terms of how we can actually have a very important conclusion from this. So, we started with the history of India, where India was actually having a share of 35% in terms of GDP share, right? And we have seen our emergence after the independence. So we looked at positives and negatives. So with every government passing, we've seen the new value additions happening, from every government, and that's how we progress over a period of time. But as Simran ma'am has said that there are positives and there are negatives. So we have to look at positives and also look at how we can actually address those issues what we have in terms of inefficiencies, in terms of infrastructure development, and how we can improve on those things, and how we can become a global superpower by addressing the issues what we have. So whether in terms of internally as well as externally both, and have a very sound policies in place. So as we discussed, we are not just progressing at the economic level. At the same time, militarily also, culturally also, even in the aspect of spirituality also, we are growing as an emergence of India across. So we are actually have a lot of positives to take in terms of soft power, in terms of the startup ecosystem what we have, and the Silicon Valley now it's called Bangalore is one of the important technological hub where a lot of innovations are happening, right? And the most important aspect while growing on various parameters, we also need to make sure that the sustainability goals should also be achieved. And we also discussed about how we can actually also achieve the permanent seat in UNSC, which is a very important part of the overall objective. So that's what we have discussed over a period of last 2.5 hours and address those issues how we can actually become a global power in years to come. So thank you very much again for such enriching sessions, and stay tuned for more interesting sessions ahead. Thank you very much, Asawari. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. So do we have Rohan Gupte on panel? Just would like to check once with the technical team. Is Rohan Gupte on panel?
I can't see that. I can't see.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So with that,
he is there. Rohan is there.
Right. Okay. So now I would like to request Rohan to please come on camera and mic. And he is one of the students at School of Fine Arts. And now over to Rohan for proposing vote of thanks. Over to you, Rohan.
Good afternoon to one and all and present today. It is an honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this great honor session and some of the thought-provoking perspectives sharing on the same stage. I, Rohan Gupte, student of Bachelor's in Fine Arts, MIT World Peace University, would like to take this opportunity to generously thank the visionary, our founder, President, MIT World Peace University, Honorable Professor Dr. Vishwanath D. Karat, sir, our guide, Executive President, Sri Rahul V. Karat, sir, the distinguished guest, Dr. Vail Award Senior Journalist, Delhi, Ms. Simran Sodhi, columnist, Delhi, Sri Manish Gupta, Chairman, PIO TV Private Limited, Chairman, PIO Service Private Limited, President of Media Mantra, Sri Vijay Knight, Consulting Editor of Sarkar Media Group, our moderator, Sri Venkat Narayan, President of Foreign Correspondent Club of South Asia, Delhi, and Shaila Sri Haridas ma'am. Taken their time out for extremely busy schedules and agreed to be a part of this conference. I would also like to express my gratitude to all MIT WPU family, staff, and students for their tireless efforts to pull off such a great event without a hitch despite the current pandemic situation and adapting so well to the unpracticed mode of digital communication. I would also like to humbly extend a hearty vote of thanks to the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia, Delhi, the Journalists Association, and a wonderful audience who made the entire session a great treat to witness. This entire set of circumstances have made each one of us to learn a lot of how successful tackle it and come out victorious. This has been an very exhilarating, exciting experience for all of us, students and teachers. So big thank you to all of you for your hard work and efforts. With this, I would like to conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Rohan. All right. So with that, we have come to the conclusion of the session, and it was really interesting and engaging to hear all of you. Once again, I thank you on behalf of MIT World Peace University. And just a quick announcement before we close this. So the next session starts at 3:30, and the theme is fake news. Is fact-checking a solution to that? The theme of the session is fake news. Is fact-checking the solution for that? So I request everybody to please join in for the next session and tune in to listen to another panel. Thank you everybody once again for spending your time and being here and making this so interesting. All right, so with that we close, and a very good afternoon to one and all once again. See you soon. Signing off.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.